Alright, welcome back to Friday video. It's Friday video time here on the Friday video channel. Seth's back. Welcome back, Seth. Seth! Okay, well, Seth's back, I promise.
Yes, I am sorry for technical difficulties.
Seth has returned triumphantly, victoriously, gloriously, and is here to talk about the best power couple we've ever had in Monster Hunter. Wraths go eat your hearts out. We've got the the
The
the uh,
toaster cats.
the straws, Tio and Luna, the straws couple here. I'm gonna cover them today because while they are two different monsters, they are technically of the same species. They are just a sexual dimorphism. So we will cover them both.
And
Um,
that dimorphism fucks up their entire
yeah.
movesets.
And it's not like how we did with Diablos, where we didn't exactly cover black because what the heck just fell off my desk? Because black, while black in Diablos is a different monster, it isn't because of dimorphism. It's because of hormonal stuff. Um, oh yeah, I talked with Arya last week, and she said it is because of it's because they're in heat, not because they're pregnant. I could never get that one straight
Yeah,
out.
I
So
remember that part, yeah.
so that's the thing with them. So now we're going to be covering two different monsters. So first up, we're going to cover uh, the Emperor himself. We're going to be covering Teostra. Um, Teostra is he's one of the trio of the Elders Circle, when you think about it. Like, because there's always the three that you fight that are normally at the top of the food chain. Those being Tio, Kushala, and then normally Chameleos. Although in World, they replaced him with did there was I don't think Nergigante was meant to be part of that circle. It was who are the three you hunt down? Is it just Kieran, Kushala, and Tio in World?
Yeah.
Okay, Camille's never made it to World, which is a big sad. But he is back in Rise, so we got that OG trio back. But uh, he's just meant to be one of those final boss kind of encounters, because as most elders are, a true test of metal. And honestly, as far as a true test of metal goes, I'd say he does a pretty solid job.
Yeah, definitely. I can agree with that.
Because Tio will give you a run for your money if you're not 120% prepared for a monster that you've never fought before.
Oh yeah, no, it's like I remember my first time hunting it, it was not a pleasant experience because in addition to just trying to fight him like on par with like the gear that you have, I was not prepared for the supernova because at the time I didn't know about the Superman dive, and that's the only way to dodge that.
And it is interesting. That is a new thing they gave him in 5th gen was the supernova explosion. Which I never expected to see that. I was like, what is he doing? Oh my god. And then boom. Then the next thing you know, you've been one tapped.
You've been carded.
Like, why, Teostra? Why? But, no. He for sure does a really good job. He's a lot more annoying a bit in World because of that supernova thing, but once you get used to it, it's pretty solid. But around the time World first came out, he only used that. Like for the longest time, it was just supernova, supernova, supernova. Every 10 minutes there was a supernova. Um, but he's not too bad, and he gives some of the best gear, so it's really worth going after him to get the Kaiser set stuff, to get Master's
Oh
Touch
yeah.
specifically. But I would say all in all, he does a very very good job for what he's supposed to be, what he's supposed to do. Um, and in terms of just him, obviously he's gonna be coming back in Wild. Like you can't not. He's been in every generation. You can't just not. I don't know if he was in. I want to say he was in 3rd. Most things usually get into 3rd after try, and usually like portable 3rd they come back. But Tio's been around since 2. Nobody really counts Gen 1 a lot because there was like a game, maybe 2 games in that. So,
oh, I'm just checking.
yeah.
Does not show up in try.
No, not in try, but in portable third, I believe he might be in it.
Nope.
No, so he's not even in 3rd gen
2,
at all.
2 Freedom, 2 Freedom Unite, 4 for Ultimate,
Oh.
and then everything forward.
Okay, so he does skip the 3rd gen, which isn't too bad. A lot of things do skip 3rd gen, but obviously he's gonna come back to Wild. He's just a staple. The giant lion dragon is just beautiful. Oh, and then I noticed when we were fighting him that he's got like tiger stripes on his wings on the backs of him, which is very, very nice. So, just the big cat dragon that breathes fire and blows things up is just the coolest thing ever. And he gives off a very regal, like truly a regal royalty. Like, you know, they give Rathlos the title of like king of the skies and whatnot, but like when you look at the emperor of the flame, it really feels like you're fighting royalty when you fight a Teostra. He reminds me of those statues that you can see in like the Chinese restaurants of like the lion or the dog that's got like its paw on the ball. He reminds me of one of those things.
My God, I know the statues you're talking about, man.
I can't remember if they're a lion or a dog. I think it's a lion is what those are, if I remember correctly. But
they're modeled after lions, or
Yeah.
at least not lions of myth.
But yeah, I think he's gonna come back in Wilds. I would like to see him back in Wilds myself. I don't know about you.
I would be surprised if they didn't.
Honestly, yeah, like
Given that the area we've seen so far is like a savanna/desert, and given that the only other like place apart from the Elder's Recess that you encounter it in world is the Wildspire Wastes, it'd be a pretty fitting place for them to chill out.
that any active volcanoes, just anywhere that you could find an incredible amount of heat, but like, because I think, I don't want to say it is a volcano, but usually when they show off that area, there's a big mountain just by itself. I would think maybe, if anywhere, he'd be up in there. But Teostra himself, yeah, he's just one of the better monsters in the game. He's iconic. He's a staple. He does his job. Well, he doesn't have a job, but as far as a final encounter and a test of your metal goes, you can't really get any better than Teostra. He's usually at the top of the trio anyway. There's always Kushala, Chameleos. Kushala goes like, first, then Chameleos, and then it's Teostra.
He is the capstone for the fire element tree, basically.
Essentially. Like, and then eventually he became the capstone for the blast.
You eventually get... Yeah, and that's when his much more threatening girlfriend comes in.
Yep, and we're going to be talking about her right now. Lunastra is very, very rare and interesting because even lore-wise, I think it's supposedly like they're a little rarer to find. But they really stick to that case because she didn't show up for 2 whole generations. Like, Teo skipped 1, and that's fine. Everybody skipped 1, but everyone came back, basically, in the 4th gen. But not even Lunastra came back. She was missing for 2 generations to the point where people, A, either forgot she existed, or B, thought she was just a myth. And didn't bother to look up any gameplay from the 2nd generation. But she...
Yeah, no, it's wild, because she didn't even return in Rise. She's only in World.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is she's in World, and then, like, when she shows up, it terrified the piss out of me. I was like, why are you here? You've been gone. I thought you were retired. Why are you here now? But Lunastra is an entirely different ball game because, like, even in the older gen, she had a kind of a different moveset, but she was a lot more aggressive.
That, yeah.
A lot more aggressive.
The powder. I can only imagine how much that traumatized people.
Yeah, it was not a good time. And I really do like that they fully fleshed out an entirely different moveset in World. An entirely, like, not only a different moveset, but a different gimmick. Like, Teostra spreads out a powder and blows it up, and he'll shoot powder out and boom, boom, boom. And he could do that before too. But Lunastra, like only now does it do Blast Blight because Bracky introduced Blast Blight in 3rd gen, but Lunastra leaves behind these pools of fire. It just looks so beautiful. Like the color and the way it leaves behind you and run through them and shit. And she does. It's so good. It's so good. And then a lot of people don't like Lunastra because they've never had a chance to fight her before. But like before 5th gen. But I agree, she's an extraordinary pain in the ass in 5th gen. Like I'm arguing she's more annoying to fight than Teostra because she can not only can she do that, she's got this one move where she has pools everywhere, and then she'll flap her wings and make like this giant chip damage area, and it's the whole area. It's not like Teostra where it's one focused point in the area you're in. It's the whole area, the entirety of where you are. And you have to go to a different area to avoid it, but good luck doing that because you're going to die before you do that. Because you're going to get chip, 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 and eventually there's just a boom.
Also, let's not get started on the dual supernova.
The bonding, the mating dance they do, where they can both just... The upside to that is if you survive, then they're both weakened and one leaves the area. The downside is you have to survive. But even that's easier to survive than Lunastra, because Lunastra will do a big wave, and it'll knock you back, and you're stunned, and you have to get up, and you have to start running. That does damage. And then the entire time you're running, you're taking damage. And
yeah, because it's a constant chip area.
And there's no diving it. There's no iframes for it. It's just going to keep chipping you.
You can Superman dive the explosion, but you can't Superman dive the rest of it.
No, and it will get you, especially if you're in a big area, because it's the whole area. It's not fair. Anyway. But as far as a fight like that goes, like Lunastra is an interesting offshoot because you normally don't associate elders as having a lot of monsters. You don't associate with having a dimorphism other than the Wraths until you find out about these two. But it is interesting that because Rathalos and Rathian used to be a lot more distinct in their movesets, and there's still only like 1 or 2 things Rathalos can't do that Rathian can, but now it's like Rathalos has all of her poison abilities, and he can do the fireball attack, sure, and then everything else on the ground is Rathalos. Rathian doesn't get in the air a lot. The only thing she has that Rathalos doesn't is a size difference, and the triple fireball attack, which I'm pretty sure Rathalos still can't do, and the poison backflip, and the double poison backflip. That's the only thing I think she has anymore that separates her besides color and size. Whereas these two, even by monster standards, it's crazy to see a dimorphism this big. And even in that point, on an elder dragon of all things, it's just incredible to see. But I think Lunastra probably won't be coming back to Wild because they've got Teostra, and that's kind of their card to play in that deck. You know, like Lunastra is either going to be in your side deck or she's just going to be like a rare token you pull out every so often as like a nice little surprise or a win con kind of thing. Like she's not always there. But
it'd be cool to see her back.
It would be cool. It would be very cool to see her come back, to see Teo come back. Honestly, it'd be cool to see maybe like them introduce a subspecies, perhaps. Because there's only ever been one thing in terms of a different species, but it wasn't canon. So it may be interesting because there are a lot of subspecies and variants and things like that when it comes to elders, but these two don't have anything, which is that's one of those things like crocodiles in real life. Like there's the crocodile, the alligator, and like 2 other things. I think the gharials and the caimans. They're so genetically perfect that they haven't changed in millions of years. And that's kind of what elder dragons are. Like these things are so freaking like perfect biologically that they don't have to have an offshoot anywhere. They can basically thrive in almost any environment, and the ones that they can't, they just don't go there. But it would be nice to see a change, like a not as something as drastic as like a switch to a different element where it's not really warranted, because they did a lot of that in in World, where like all of a sudden Tobikadachi has poison and paralysis. All of a sudden Puke Puke shoots water. All of a sudden Anjanath has lightning. And two of those are found in an Arctic region. Like Odogaron, we talked about Odogaron last week, and we kind of justified why he can do what he can do as an Ebony Odogaron. But even then, that's kind of a far-fetched stretch. But when it comes to these two, like maybe seeing something along the lines of a different element would be cool. Like maybe they live up in such high mountain peaks, lightning comes into play, or something along those lines. Something close to fire, not like a polar opposite swap, like they did. Like I don't know. But that being said, Lunastra coming back to WoW would be great. I wouldn't be upset if I honestly thought she was retired until World. I really did. I wasn't too upset about it, but they could retire, they could not retire. I couldn't care less at this point. But it would be interesting to see her. I'm not going to be hurt if I don't, but I would be kind of hurt if I don't see Teostra at least.
Yeah. I honestly, just because I haven't played like the second generation, I would love to see Lunastra come back, and on top of revamping her moveset, give her the old dust move back.
Yeah.
With how big of an area we have to work with, it'd be fun. Honestly, I'm actually really curious because of how like open-ended the areas are. Like, how is that gonna work with supernovas? Are they gonna like nerf them by making them smaller?
Well, honestly, they don't have to nerf them anymore because now we have mounts and we can just take off and get out quicker. Because in World and prior, you've never had a mount. So now that we do,
Iceborne.
those ones, well, not like ones you can control.
Okay, yeah.
Like in Rise, where you have the Palamutes. We're gonna get something similar to that in Wild. So now, because in Rise, Teostra Supernova is not a problem because you can just hop on the dog and run the fuck away and it not hit you, and then you just get a dead Teostra just on a silver platter. But yeah, I don't know. I think in terms of Teostra and Lunastra, definitely would love to see Teostra back. Lunastra, I could take her leave. It would be okay if she came back. It would be okay if she didn't, because she doesn't even have that big of a name in the game compared to Teostra, because Teostra's been in more generations than she has. He's made more of a name for himself, and he wasn't believed to be retired. So it's more impactful if you don't have Teostra, but it's not as impactful if you don't have Lunastra. But I think we are at our point now where we will be taking a look at the grandiose of the board. And since we missed Seth last week, and this is probably a first video for some people, so we're gonna go over it real quick. In the ass end is Plesioth, always Plesioth, until we cover either Bull Drum or Gypsius. One of those two will probably they'll be down there with him, but I don't know if they're ever gonna beat him for last place. Then there's Kangala, Bambaro, Dodogama, Puki Puke, Tetsukabra, Tobikadachi, Kezu. Regular and Ebony Odogaron are now our newest additions, being a third place in C tier. Gravios, Damio Hermitor, Barith, Basarius, Diablos, Yain Kutku, Kushala Deora, which Arya was not very happy with. She was very not happy with Kushala being... She was okay with him being behind Najarala, but she was absolutely livid about him being behind Kieran. Kieran being our top and B. Then we got Malfestio, Anjanath, Valhazak, Deviljho, Lagiacrus, Seregios, Zenogre, Brachydios, and Nergigante in first place of S tier. And now it's come time to rank Teostra. Where, oh where, do he be?
I will say he definitely deserves to be pretty high up there.
Oh yeah, nothing below A tier for sure.
Oh, absolutely not. Does his job as basically a capstone monster really well. Just he's a menace to fight, so not in a bad way, just fun. Once you learn how to deal with the supernova.
He is definitely a monster among monsters. But honestly, I feel Teostra, not only given his iconic status, but just what he is and what he represents, what he, this is the pinnacle. Because once you get to the point of Elder Dragons, where they're just, every other quest mission is an Elder Dragon, like in the upper echelons of Master, G rank, high rank, it eventually just becomes all Elder Dragons. Oops, all Elder Dragons. But when you get to that point, he's the top when it comes to them. Like, if you don't take into consideration the Colossals, you don't take into consideration your weird offshoots like the Karkos or Yamatsukami, and you
monsters that can only show up occasionally,
and you don't look at Fatalis, this is your guy. This is the Emperor of Flame. Honestly, I don't think anything below S tier is necessary for Teostra.
Oh yeah, I feel he definitely deserves. I would say this. As much as I would want to put them together, Teostra definitely deserves an S tier. Lunastra, bare minimum A tier.
Yeah, I was gonna say Lunastra an A tier, but not below A tier. But she definitely doesn't deserve as high a ranking as he does. But now the question remains: where in S tier would our toasty cat go?
That is the eternal question.
Because we have Nergi, Bracky, Zenogre, and Seregios. Honestly, I would say he beats out Seregios, myself.
You know what? Yeah, that's a fair point.
Does he beat out Zenogre?
You can't ask me that question. You know I'm too biased.
Honestly, yeah, but see, I'm biased against Bracky. I'm a little... Okay, but we have to be in terms of objectivity. He is 100% objectively a better monster than Seregios. We know that for certain.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to objectivity, because I feel like a lot of monsters can be overhyped. Tigrex, I feel, is a little overhyped. Rathalos, I feel, is a little overhyped. Zenogre, I feel, is a little overhyped. That's just subjectivity. Objectivity, Zenogre definitely brings a lot to the game. And it's hard to compare because there was an entire generation of just Teostra, and then there was an entire generation of just Zenogre. Because they weren't in the same generation with one another till 4th gen. So it really did put up a bigger divide. Because in 4th gen, everything, all the mechanics are there, all the monsters are there, everything is there. So it's not, it's not an easy toss-up between them. But I would be willing to say, honestly, I know for sure we're gonna have to move Seregios back. I'm gonna move him back a slot. This is hard. But I think in terms of... So what we're going to have to do, because this is so difficult and such a tie between these, we may have to break into other aspects of the monster. So, like, gear-wise, Teostra beats out Zenogre.
Oh, yeah, no. If we're talking about the skills that you get, Zenogre is not greatest from what I can recall. It has some good skills, yes, but it's usually for like electric builds versus Teostra, who, yeah, while certainly having skills that are focused towards fire, I know damn well every fucking crit building world required multiple pieces of Teostra armor.
Oh yeah. So then what we have to talk about is the comparison of Teostra and Brachydios. Because Teo wouldn't even be where he is today without Bracky. Because Bracky brought the blast element into the game. So
I feel like you. I'm not sure if I'm going crazy, but I think you might have been. You might have been mixing up Lunastra and Teostra's like blights in terms of like the armors, in terms of like the weapons, because I remember specifically for that one Xenojiva weapon that you upgrade using Lunastra materials, it gives blast blight.
Yes, all of the Xenojiva weapons have to be upgraded with Lunastra material. That was kind of their whole reasoning to put Lunastra in there and making Lunastra a little bit harder than Teostra. But Teostra, his weapons give blast, and his armor gives you blast effects as well. Like they up the blast stuff, kind of like Bracky does.
Right, yeah, it's the thing that upgrades the barrel bombs apart from Bracky, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, no, it's the thing that makes it to where blast accumulates faster.
Oh, right. It's been a minute since I've run a blast build.
So, because of the fact that Brachydios is the progenitor of an entire element, or ailment rather, I think we'll have Teostra in 3rd place in S tier. So, Zinogre has finally been knocked down a peg after being where he's been since he was introduced into this board. But, we now, in terms of S tier, are 5 rankings. Seregios, Zinogre, Teostra, Bracky, and then Nergigante still sitting as the king of the monsters right now. And now we have to talk about Lunastra. So, Lunastra is definitely not going in the S tier. She just doesn't have enough to back up that reasoning.
Yeah.
So, in terms of A tier, we have Malfestio. She definitely outranks him. She definitely outranks Anjanath. And I'm 100%... Oh, no, it's not Kieran. Valhazak took Camelios' place in that trio. So Valhazak, I also think she outranks him. So it boils down to... Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I would say... Hey, she definitely outranks Valhazak. It's debatable once you get to Black Veil, but...
Yeah, but we'll have to burn that bridge when we cross him.
We'll get that.
So, the question is, does Lunastra outdo the Devil Joe? I personally don't think she does. You gotta think, Devil Joe has the intimidation factor. He's been in every... Do what?
I'd say they're both pretty intimidating. But
True, but...
I see what you're going with.
When you see Lunastra, you're more like kind of stunned in awe and beauty of the regality and the lethality of the grace of this giant dragon. And then when you go out into an open field and you see a giant green T-Rex with a fucking, like, with a wood chipper for a mouth, you're like, oh, Jesus Christ, what is that abomination? So, not to mention, Devil Joe has more generations on him than she does. Because she's been in 2, he's been in 3, because he's been around since the 3rd. So, he's got more gens on him, but also, he has Dragon Element, which is rare on its own, but also the fact of, I'm pretty sure Devil Joe could probably... I don't want to say he'd tank one.
With, like, all the elders and the elders resist into him. Or am I thinking of someone else?
What now?
Is it Normal Devil Joe or Savage that tries to fuck with the Elders in the Elders Recess?
I believe that's Savage.
Yeah. God.
But
Eh, eh.
that's just ugh. But Devil Joe in and of himself is gameplay wise a lot more interesting of a fight, I think. Just because it's not a dragon. Like, you've fought dragons before. Like, even with Lunastra, you fought this monster before, just slightly different. At least back in 2nd gen. But then you got this big ass dinosaur that you've never fought before. The only dinosaurs up to that point were Bareth. Bareth was the only one aside from Devil Joe up until they introduced Bracky in the next game. So, and just the iconicness of the Angry Pickle outweighs the iconicness of the Toaster Cat.
Yeah. The thing is, while yes, Lunastra is iconic as one of the 2 Toaster Cats, it's still the same nickname for 2 monsters. Versus Devil Joe, which while he's had his variants and subspecies, you know him as the Pickle, and that is the one thing I will take away from him in terms of the intimidation factor. As soon as you fight him once and figure out that nickname, he is no longer intimidating. He is annoying.
Until you go back a few gens and then you're like, oh no. The old Devil Joe. But in terms of like what these monsters represent, like Laggy represents an entire generation, but he also represents an entire mechanic and an entirely different world. Because the underwater world is his domain, and we only get one look at that. And in that beauty is Lagiacrus. So Laggy and Devil Joe, I think I'm good with putting Lunastra in 3rd place in A tier.
Honestly, yeah, I feel like it's a good spot, like behind Devil Joe, but
So now we have our 2 big old kitty cats. We got Tio as, and that's even weirder. That's actually cool. I didn't even think about that. We've got Tio in 3rd place in S tier, and Luna is 3rd place in A tier. Both in the same place, just 1 tier above. Both the same monster, just a split in gender. So, I mean, yeah, I think that's pretty fitting. A pretty fitting end to them. So, as always, you can comment. Are you gonna? Probably not. But you can always comment if you want to, if you think that they have been misplaced on this board, and we can move them around. And as always, when they come back, if they come back to Wilds, they'll be moved around again, and we can just go from there when we get there. I'm looking forward to Wilds so much.
I am very excited for it. I still find your reaction to finding out that there's going to be underwater segments again.
I can't wait, because that means he's going to come back.
It does not mean that yet.
It means it!
There's a chance.
He's coming back, I promise. Mark these words on this day, this Friday. I mean, either this Sunday that we're recording this or this Friday this video comes up. Mark the words, Laggy coming back. He's coming. It's going to be great. Well,
We're coping so hard right now, and it's so fun.
So, thanks for watching, everybody. Go check out our Patreon. Go check out the rest of the channel. Go check out the Twitter we have now that's being ran. That's another thing we have now. I'm going to leave that link in the description. I need to start saying these things at the beginning of the video because nobody ever makes it to this part of the video, probably. But yeah, thanks for watching this. Seth, any closing words?
No, you've covered it all nicely.
Seth said, nah, let's get out of this bitch. All right. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll see you guys next Friday when we cover who knows what. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.